The market has been pretty brutal for most altcoins last year. But even though Hyperliquid is an inflationary token, it tends to see more supply over time. The demand is growing quicker. This is Hyperliquid's price relative to the altcoin market cap, excluding the stablecoins. Hype has just hit another all-time high. And since the beginning of last year, it outperformed the altcoin market by 161%. But it also had its volatility, right? Temporary drops of 50%. The question is there potentially a way to time the market for Hyperliquid? So if we are long-term bullish on Hype, we want to accumulate, is there maybe a way to get better entry opportunities compared to just say dollar cost averaging, compared to just buying regularly every month? I do like Hyperliquid quite a bit. We've got 3 million in this vault and another 3.5 million in this vault. And while we are trading cryptocurrencies on Hyperliquid, the reason for the recent growth is the adoption of traditional finance perpetual futures. So the trading that happens on the oil market, trading that happens on derivatives of the stock market and on commodities in general, that's really what's driving the growth of Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid is the very first case in crypto where the technology of crypto shows how it can be superior to traditional finance, simply because it settles very quickly, simply because it's open 24/7. Those differentiators help Hyperliquid getting adoption from the regular Wall Street guys. Now let's have a look again at a backtest of how we can time the Hype token. So this is from Bitcoin Strategy Analytics, our backtesting platform available to the premium members. Here is the Hype token relative to the cryptocurrency market cap, excluding the stablecoins. We are optimizing for a price cross relative to the simple moving average. We are going both long and short with an 11% financing rate. This is the typical financing rate on Hype. And here is the best moving average. It's the 4-day SMA. Now that's when we optimize for the annualized return. When we optimize instead for the Sharpe ratio, we get a very similar outcome. Again, the 4-day SMA is the best. And that's then how that looks like on a chart. We would have bought on the 7th of April and we would be long since then. We would be betting on rising prices since then. Here's the alpha of that strategy. Buying and holding Hype would have given us annualized 227%, but timing long and short, according to the 4-day SMA, gives 293%. Now, it's not very common to trade that actively. By the way, there are also trading fees included in that simulation. The Hyperliquid trading fees of 0.05% per transaction. But it's very annoying to buy and sell that frequently. And so an alternative approach would be just to try to pick the bottoms and potentially sell the tops. So whenever we fall below the 30 threshold on the daily relative strength index, we are buying because we are oversold. Whenever we go above the 70% mark, we are overbought and we rather get out of the market. How well does that work? So let's run a regression analysis again on the same asset, the 14-day RSI. We look at the performance in the subsequent 14 days after such a signal. So we ignore all the signals in the middle. We just go long when we are low on the RSI, we go short when we are high on the RSI, and we hold for 14 days. How well does that work? Here is the result. So this is the RSI value on the x-axis. So it goes from 0 to 100. That's this over here. And on the y-axis, we've got the performance in the subsequent 14 days. So we've got our different data points. We've got our thresholds. A very low RSI, very cheap over here. Very high RSI, very expensive over here. And everything in between. And this orange line, that's the regression line. So this is the line that best represents all of those data points. How does a 14-day holding period on average perform in the middle and on the left and on the right? That's over here. The median performance for the oversold and the neutral area is pretty much the same. But the overbought performance is not good at all. In other words, we want to stay away from Hype, at least for the subsequent 14 days when the RSI is above 70. And we're getting very close to that value again. Have a look at the last time we hit 70. That was on the 18th of March. And subsequently, the next 14 days, Hype went down by almost 11%. So we are not there yet. The moving average is of course still bullish, but if you go up a bit further, the asset might be heated enough to justify rather being cautious again. It might make sense to rather be cautious again. Now, why is this strategy working? I think it's working because the Hyperliquid team gets token unlocks as well, and very likely they are taking profit when the Hype token, comparatively speaking, is rather expensive. Why would the team take profit when the price is very low? And since the token unlocks happen monthly, I think the 14-day forward-looking return makes a lot of sense as well. When the RSI is high, there tends to be a lot of selling. The higher it is, the more selling there is. And we are potentially approaching a high level again. But if Hyperliquid outperforms again tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, the data suggests that it makes sense to lock in some profit. Again, I don't have a crystal ball here either. I'm simply just sharing the data as I see it. I'm simply just sharing the backtest, and I hope that's useful. If you got some value out of this video, feel free to give it a like. Feel free to also subscribe. I publish videos regularly. If you want to get access to the backtesting tool, or if you want to see what trades I do, or if you want to join our Hyperliquid vaults, which have made 370k and 200k respectively, that's over the course of the last 5 months roughly, then check out Premium. The link to Premium pops up here on the screen. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Cheers.